For as long as I can remember, Rachel has always been a part of my life. We grew up together, shared dreams, and when we finally admitted what was already obvious to everyone, we fell madly in love. At 22, our love seemed to reach its peak with the arrival of a child. But life has cruel ways of taking everything we love away from us. A tragedy at work took Rachel from me, and along with her, my child. Grief consumed me. Years passed, and little by little, I rebuilt my life. I met Catherine. There was something about her that reminded me of Rachel. I found comfort by her side, and for a while, I believed I could be happy again. But happiness can be an illusion. One day, I came home early from a trip and found Catherine and my best friend, Harry, together. The betrayal burned my soul with a pain unlike anything I had ever felt. But this time, I didn't let sadness consume me. It was time to act. Cold and meticulous, I planned every detail of my revenge. She tried to reach out, tried to undo the inevitable, but her words fell on deaf ears. I blocked her number, erased her name from my story, and finally, I moved on.
Hey guys, welcome to our channel.
My name is Martin. For as long as I can remember, Rachel has always been in my life. We grew up together in a small town where everyone knew each other by name. I must have been 6 or 7 years old when I first saw her, with her fiery red hair tied in 2 braids and that defiant look that seemed to say she ruled the world. And maybe she did. We became inseparable, sharing dreams and whispered promises under the stars on warm summer nights. At 16, we finally admitted what was already obvious to everyone. We were in love. 2 years later, we packed our bags and left in search of a future of our own. We bought our first house, small and modest but filled with love and hope. When Rachel found out she was pregnant at 22, I thought I couldn't be happier. But fate had other plans. It was a phone call that changed everything. The kind of call you never expect to receive, the one that forever marks the boundary between before and after. The manager of the company where Rachel worked had a tense, cold voice. An accident, an old, unstable shelf that should have been replaced years ago, collapsed on her. They told me that both she and our child were killed instantly. But words like instantly don't ease the pain. They don't erase the images that have haunted me ever since, nor do they quiet the fury that spread through my chest like a corrosive poison. 2 other co-workers were injured. One of them would never walk again. The other lost a leg. But the company executives? They didn't even hesitate before offering a dirty financial settlement, hoping to wrap things up quickly and quietly. The money meant nothing to me. What I wanted was justice. What I wanted was blood. Thanks to media pressure and the intervention of some politicians, the case went to court. 3 years later, the company was forced to pay a settlement 10 times larger than the initial offer. Fines were imposed, workplace safety became a national issue, and some of those responsible ended up behind bars. But none of that brought Rachel back. My mother, bless her soul, moved into my house during that time, fearing I would crumble under the weight of my grief. And maybe she was right. Without her, I might have succumbed. But amid the chaos, an unexpected opportunity arose. My job in telecommunications offered me a promotion that involved frequent travel across the state. I could have declined, but something inside me craved movement. A routine that would pull me away from the suffocating memories of that empty home. I asked to be transferred to the branch in my hometown, hoping to find some meaning in the place where it all began. My request was approved. I continued living with my mother, but now in the house she owned there. And so, my new life took shape. 1 or 2 weeks at the main office, 1 in the town where I grew up, and the rest of the time traveling. A year later, I bought a house in my hometown, so I wouldn't have to stay in my mother's guest room anymore. I wanted to believe I was rebuilding my life. But fate wasn't done with me yet. That's when Harry, the administrative director of the branches, came back into my life in a way I never could have predicted. We had grown up together but taken different paths. When we reconnected, our friendship grew stronger. He was the one who invited me to a party that Friday night. I accepted without thinking much of it, figuring a night of drinking with friends would do me good. Little did I know that night would change everything. That's where I met Catherine. New in town, recently hired at the branch where I worked. There was something about her that made me freeze. Her gestures, the way she laughed, for a moment, it was as if I were looking at Rachel. It scared me and comforted me at the same time. We started talking, and everything just flowed naturally. After 2 years of dating, we decided to take the next step, and Catherine moved into my house. I was happy again. Everything was going well, Catherine and my mother got along, and even Rachel's parents approved, happy that someone could make me as happy as Rachel once had. For about a year, everything was perfect. Then things started to change. Happiness can be deceiving. First, there were the interrupted Skype calls. Then, the neighbors started commenting about a car parked near the house whenever I was away. A car that, to my horror, belonged to Harry. And then there were the clothes. Shirts that weren't mine, a strange perfume lingering in the air of my bedroom. Every sign screamed betrayal, but Catherine swore otherwise. She said Harry stopped by only to discuss business. Nothing major, she'd say with a casual smile. But every time I asked, her voice held the faintest hesitation, an echo of guilt. Deep down, I knew she was lying. I should have trusted my instincts. But I didn't. I convinced myself it was paranoia, that it was all in my head. 6 months later, the confirmation came in the most brutal way. I managed to get an early flight home and decided to surprise her. But I was the one who was surprised. Harry's car was there, and when I reached the back door, I saw something that made my blood run cold. My kitchen, Catherine and Harry, their frantic movements over the counter where I had prepared so many breakfasts for her. I froze. My best friend. My girlfriend. I wanted to scream. I wanted to storm in and drag them out, make them feel the pain that cut through me like a blade. But I couldn't. My legs gave out, my breath came in short gasps. Disgust and agony swirled inside me like a hurricane. Without them seeing me, I retreated to my car. And I cried. But sorrow, like a treacherous shadow, soon gave way to burning rage. The fire of vengeance ignited within me. There was no more room for hesitation. The revenge would begin right there, at that exact moment. I took out my phone and called her. Hidden, I watched as the two of them froze when my name lit up on the screen. Their silence was revealing. She hesitated, considered answering, but let it ring. I tried again. This time she picked up. The moment I heard her voice, I hung up without saying a word. Minutes later, she called me back, asking why I was calling so late. I told her I was 10 minutes away from home and didn't want to startle her by arriving unannounced. Her tone changed instantly. Her trembling voice, pretending to be cheerful, betrayed her desperation. I waited. And then, just as I had imagined, Harry rushed out the back, hastily dressing and sprinting to his car as if fleeing from hell itself. I smiled, feeling the weight of fear settle over them. I waited a few moments, then moved my car to the same spot where Harry had been just moments before. The night became silent once again. Later, when Catherine was asleep, I got up and went to my office. I couldn't sleep. Adrenaline coursed through my veins like poison. I needed to plan. And plan I did. My mother had always taught me to be a pacifist, to believe in karma. But that night, I decided karma needed a little push. The installation of the cameras and alarm system was the first piece of my plan. As soon as the technician finished explaining how the cameras and alarm system worked, Catherine finally asked the question I had already anticipated. She hesitated for a moment, lightly biting her lower lip as if debating whether she should even say it. But then, in an almost innocent tone, she blurted out, "What if we want a little privacy? I mean, if we're doing something and don't want it recorded?" There was a rehearsed shyness in her voice, but I saw beyond it. Her curiosity wasn't just a whim. There was something more to it. The technician smiled, as if he had heard that question 1,000 times before. "That's pretty common. If you want, you can manually disable specific cameras through the system," he explained, guiding us to the control computer. He showed us how to pause the recording of any specific camera. While Catherine pretended casual disinterest, I memorized every detail. On his way out, away from Catherine, the technician helped me set up automatic alerts for whenever the cameras were turned off, and taught me how to remotely reactivate them. Fantastic. All I had to do now was wait. The next step was to consult our family lawyer. I needed to ensure that my next move was absolutely legal. The last thing I wanted was to be forced to pay Catherine anything if our relationship officially ended. I wasn't entirely sure whether we were legally considered a couple, and that uncertainty made me uneasy. As the sole beneficiary of Rachel's estate, I couldn't take any risks. Thanks to a valuable recommendation, I found an exceptional lawyer. After analyzing the situation, he reassured me. Although Catherine and I had been together for nearly 4 years, we hadn't lived under the same roof long enough to be legally recognized as a de facto couple. Furthermore, all the household bills were in my name. Catherine didn't pay rent, which prevented her from claiming any rights over the property. To further protect myself, the lawyer drafted a solid, nearly unbreakable document. If Catherine tried any tricks, I would be covered. The following week brought an unexpected surprise. My boss called me in for a private conversation and made an offer that would change everything. They wanted me to return to the city and take over the team I had been part of, no more constant travel. The success of the branch in my hometown led the company to consider sending 3 to 5 representatives there periodically. I accepted the offer without hesitation. The transfer process would take about 6 weeks, giving me plenty of time to execute each step of my plan. The next move had to be careful. I wanted Catherine gone for a while, and the perfect excuse soon formed in my mind. I asked Harry, our manager, to approve 2 weeks of vacation for her. My pretext? I planned to send her, along with 1 or 2 friends, on a retreat before taking the biggest step of my life. He agreed and scheduled the time off for Catherine. Before leaving, I asked for one additional favor. "Harry, don't mention this to anyone. I want it to be a big surprise." Everything was falling perfectly into place. Now, I just had to wait for the right moment to trigger the final piece of the puzzle. To make everything even more cruelly perfect, I arranged a surprise trip for her, ensuring she would be far away when I made my final move. That night, I smiled as I saw the sparkle in Catherine's eyes when I told her about the surprise I had prepared. An entire week at a tropical spa resort, all expenses paid, no questions asked. She could pick 2 friends to go with her. Her shriek of joy echoed through the room, reminding me of a child who had just won a golden ticket to the chocolate factory. I feigned indifference, merely adding that while she was away, I'd be busy with a major client, spending the entire week working out of town. What I didn't say was that I had planned everything meticulously. While she soaked in hot springs and downed colorful cocktails, I would spend 2 weeks savoring my newfound freedom, preparing the stage for the storm about to hit her. The next morning, with a hot coffee in hand and my mind lighter than ever, I began the final execution of my plan. While Catherine and her friends boarded their return flight, I orchestrated the move. I called a friend who worked in moving services and requested urgency. It was simple. All of her belongings had to be packed and sent to storage by Friday. Before leaving for good, I went to my mother's house and told her and Rachel's parents everything. I left out some details, of course, but the essentials were there. They were shocked, upset that I had handled everything alone, but proud of how I had taken control of the situation. By Friday, with everything settled, I cleaned the house one last time, handed the keys to the realtor, and headed to Becky's place. She had played a crucial role in ensuring everything went according to plan. I handed her an envelope containing all the evidence of Catherine's betrayal, along with legal documents. It was a farewell gift, a formal notice to never contact me again. On Sunday, I woke up to dozens of missed calls, voicemails, and furious texts. Catherine had returned only to find the house empty and a for rent sign planted in the yard. Panicked, she went to my mother's house, but she didn't even open the door for her. Desperate, she called everyone she knew until she finally reached Becky, who handed her the gift. The result? Explosive rage, accusations that I had set her up, that I was cruel and heartless. I smiled at the phone screen, deleted the messages without listening, and with a sigh of relief blocked Catherine. For the first time in a long time, I was free.
Want more mysteries, twists, and exciting moments? So you can't miss this video. Click now and continue this journey of fascinating stories. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any news. Leave your comments and see you next time.